All right, hello wine drinking people. I'm back from my various trips. Well, this last one, Washington State, and before that I was out to help celebrate the Lewis's 20th anniversary. God, it's hard to believe these guys have been in business for 20 years. Well, I remember from the back all the way to the very beginning with the Oakville Ranch days when the Lewis's came to see me. I've got that story and some other Lewis stories here in our Lewis review. As man, after 20 years, you get quite a few stories with somebody like Randy and Debbie Lewis. Especially Randy, who's spent more time down here than Debbie, but I've stayed at their house in San Francisco, and I've been out to see them at the winery, and I was glad that they made me come out and help them celebrate their 20th anniversary. Well, I would have been out there, but we have kids, and these little things, require attention, both my wife's or mine, but at least one of us, and Tony couldn't make it this time, but Randy convinced Tony to let me come out and celebrate with them by myself. With them, Randy, I'm going to call you every time I need to, convince Tony that I should leave by myself to go out and do one of these wine trips, because it was an absolutely fantastic time. It was had by all. We had a lot of celebrities in the crowd. As you can imagine, over 20 years, the Lewises have managed to get quite a few friends in the restaurant business. Some restaurant tours were in the crowd. Drew Neaport was there. He owned Rubicon for years in San Francisco, Montrachet in New York City. So it was fun to sit down and catch up with Drew. And then some master sommeliers, of course. Emmanuel Camigi from Mayura Vineyards. He's now has his own label, just like Richard Betts does from Little Nell. Betts and Scholl, and I believe he just sold that label. Congratulations, Richard. And, of course, various other sommeliers that I didn't know. The guy from the French Laundry was there. And Matt Lane, formerly of Bourbon Steak, was in the house. He's now out at Red temporarily. Red Reddington was the chef, the gentleman that was serving up the food at Redwood, his restaurant at the North Block Hotel where all the festivities took place. And Randy had a race car that he used to drive sitting out front. And I said, Randy, man, you're not going to start that thing up later, are you? He goes, Andrew, there's no battery in there and there's no gas in it. So there's no way that I can start it up. Obviously, he knows himself. And after a few bottles of wine, and there were many bottles of wine opened at this celebration. We had, most everything in large format. I don't know how many 6 liters of Lewis that were opened up, but we had the very first vintage, the 1992 Reserve Cabernet, still drinking beautifully, but I cannot stop thinking about that 1994 Reserve Merlot out of Magnum. Absolutely stunning. Well, actually, I don't know if it was Reserve Merlot. I didn't really take much notes at this tasting. I can just remember, several of the wines. The 2001 Cuvée L was fantastic. The 1997, which is, I believe, the first vintage of Cuvée L, also outstanding. It didn't have the gold, the silver label. It still had the copper emblem on it. And then, of course, the 2002 Syrah. Stunning. I've always told the Lewises that their Syrah and Merlot just as good as the Cabernet Sauvignon. And the Alex blend, to me, the greatest value in the lineup, which is a Merlot, Syrah, and Cabernet blend. And for some reason, without that word Syrah on it, it just sells so much better than their Syrahs, which are among the greatest Syrahs made in the world. And I've got my Syrah story in this review as well. That is when, we had a number of people come in the store and, you bring your best bottle of Syrahs, and I recommended to every single one the Lewis, and then ended up bringing it myself because everybody wanted something better, which means more expensive. And, in the case of great wines, it's not necessarily the most expensive wine that wins, but we do have some very expensive wines from Lewis on this offering. Everything they make, including the Cuvée 7, which is made in collaboration with the great Lance Armstrong. The Cuvée L, but I will tell you, like I said, you are not going to be disappointed with anything. The Alex blend oftentimes scores just as high as the Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon, which we have the new release of the Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon, the 2009 on this offering, which is killer once again, and their 2010 Reserve Sauvignon Blanc, which has become my favorite white from Lewis, of course, when the Reserve Chardonnay is not available. But everything on this offering we've got in stock today from the Lewis's is available. We got some upcoming current releases to look forward to in the fall. We'll have those on there. If you're interested in those, let us know. We can sell you these wines for the same price that the Lewis's have their website on it. Thank you very much, Randy and Debbie, again, for a wonderful party. Check it out. The rest of you, everything that we've got to offer from Lewis on this offering. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying, remember, always drink the good stuff first.